Hello friends, we're back for another short but sweet video. So before I go any further, I do apologize in advance about my voice. It's obviously not up to snuff and I have recently recovered from being sick, so sorry if it sounds pathetic at times, but we're going to get through this, man. We're going to get through it. But in this video, I have breaking news for you guys. I have attended my first gaming convention. I know, sound the alarm. Fake gamer, fake gamer. Oh my God, he's a fake gamer. All these years, never going to a gaming convention until now. What's the deal? What's going on? What is this insanity? So hold on. Let me explain. There have been small conventions over the years, but more like on the level of a Street Fighter tournament or a Smash Brothers tournament, stuff like that, where it's mainly just this one tournament going on and they might have another tournament going on. But essentially that is what you're here for. You're here for the Smash Brothers tournament. And then on the other end of the spectrum, the actual bigger conventions, they're just not anywhere close to my state. So I finally took it upon myself. I saw this convention happening on December 13th, 2025. And what even pushed me a little further into looking into it was that I was planning to go to a convention on the 12th, and that kind of fell through. And I knew there was no way I was going to be able to make that convention and get off for work for it. So I was like, I saw this one and I was like, well, that's on a Saturday, so I will have it off. And it's not that far away. So I was like, I'll keep this in mind. And as it got closer, I kind of realized, yeah, let me just stop by for a little bit, check it out, see what's going on. If you're new to the channel, I am Ryofu and you are watching The Gaming Harbinger. Sometimes we do videos such as this, conventions. Sometimes we talk about anime news, gaming news. We also do reviews on both. So if any of that sounds remotely intriguing to you, please consider subscribing. Thank you again for tuning in. So I went into this with the expectation that there was going to be pretty much retro stuff being sold here. They had 50 vendors, arcade cabinets so you could play games. They even had like this sitting area where, I guess if you were tired or whatever, you could sit down, catch your breath, or go through your stuff, I guess you could say. Oklahoma's Gaming Frenzy was a convention that cost only $5 to get into, and it was from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Now, I'm not entirely sure like how it works in terms of all these vendors, but some of the stuff that's being sold, some of it looks like straight out of people's collections, but there's other people you can clearly tell that this is a store and they bought a bunch of space and they're like, all right, let's load up the games, let's get these shelves put together and let's make some money. Being that, breaking news, I know, I'm not a spring chicken. I always get amazed when, if you're my age, if you're in your 40s, and when you hear the word retro, you immediately think, oh, okay, yeah, maybe the stuff when I was a kid, maybe, NES, Sega Master System, Atari, Commodore, that sort of stuff. Remember those small like TV/DVD combos? Well, I'm sorry, I said DVD combos, but I meant to say VHS combos. And the TV is probably like, the screen is small. We're talking like maybe a 5-inch TV, I guess. But they were selling stuff like that even. So you had a variety of vendors. And of course, there were people selling Pokemon cards. It's a pretty big and spacious event, just full of vendors. And like I said, prices were varying. One thing I was doing was I was going to different vendors, and if I happen to see the same game, how much are they selling it for? I was a little caught off guard by 360 and PlayStation 3 games, but even more so caught by surprise that there were Xbox One, and PlayStation 4 games available. But if I were to be completely honest, I wasn't entirely against this because, I mean, the way I looked at this is perhaps there's even something that's not too old that might grab my attention and might convince me to actually pay for it. I've never had this conversation before on my channel, but I guess there's a first time for everything. My channel really doesn't cover retro stuff, but that doesn't mean that it won't ever happen. I think, because of the news aspect, I do stay pretty current on things. But let's be honest, I just told you that I was gaming, for years and that I'm in my 40s. So a while ago, I was at a convention and I bought one of these. Hopefully you could see that. If you can't see it, it's a Superboy. And, I haven't really played a whole lot on it, but I definitely have that intrigue because, so I'll go ahead and say it now, Super Nintendo is actually my favorite system of all time. There's a lot of nostalgia there for me, but obviously, like I said, with my channel, it's not really something, it's not a conversation I really engage in. So one of the first things I found was this. And if you can't read that, that is Elder Scrolls Morrowind. I remembered a while back that there were some games on Xbox that you could download the 4K assets for free, and Morrowind is one of those. So I'm really curious to try that out and see how it runs. And of course, I found something that I could absolutely try on my Superboy, and that is Illusion of Gaia. And now you might be able to see the price on there, I'm not sure. But pretty much with Illusion of Gaia, it's one of those games that I rented the crap out of, played multiple times through, really enjoyed the combat and the mechanics of how to figure out the puzzles and stuff. And I was like, the reality is this, guys, with me. I am not a collector. So when you see something like this is because I plan to play this. This is not going to sit on a shelf. I plan to play this. Like I said, probably on the Superboy, but and the same thing with Morrowind. Like that's not something to sit on a shelf and look nice. That's because I have the intention of playing it. So, and the reason why I'm even saying that part to you guys is because my approach to even this convention is probably different than most people. So in my case, when I go in, and because this did happen, I saw the Saw game. So I always was interested in playing the Saw games, but I just never got around to them. And I knew to the degree that they were rare, but I just know, like everybody, like I said, on a personal level, like since I'm not a collector, I know I have my limit and I know where this game stands amongst all the other games I own and plus my backlog. And when I asked someone, hey, how much is this Saw game? She immediately started looking it up online and how much it was. Then she talked to another guy next to her, and I overheard the guy kind of say like, hey, you can tell him it's 42. That's a pretty good deal, I think. And so when I heard him say this, I was just like, yeah, nah. I mean, that may be a good deal. I don't know. With Illusion of Gaia, I have my Superboy that I just showed you. Yeah, I'm going to put that in and play it. It's going to happen. But then there's other stuff like the Saw game. I'm like, okay, so I'm going to put aside all this other stuff I'm playing, not to mention the stuff that I play with my friends, to play Saw on the Xbox 360. Interesting. Tell us more. Is it worth me paying $42? In my opinion, it didn't feel like it. I was also able to snag up a PlayStation 2 controller. It sounds weird me wording it that way, but we are definitely in times where controllers for consoles, like, if you can find one, especially if it's functional, you should jump on it. There's some stuff like if I would have sat and thought about it, I probably could have wrote, several games down and then started looking for them and seeing how much they were worth and blah, blah, blah. Illusion of Gaia, this was one of them, definitely. Morrowind was not one that I was thinking of, but when I saw it, I was like, oh, we're getting that. But my point, though, is that, some of this stuff is a low priority for me. So it's icing on the cake. But it doesn't mean that this can't be fun and exciting for people, because it is interesting seeing stuff that, that in reality, it really is like 30 years old. It really is retro, but it may not feel like it to you, especially if you're my age. I did even see some people cosplaying, and that was cool. Like the vibe of this convention was really nice. I would say the convention space was equivalent to, I guess you would say, maybe the dealer's room of maybe Acon or an Anime Fest, at the peak. So the whole convention was the size of one of their dealer's room. I think that's a pretty good description. I believe I said this once to you guys, but I'm going to say it one more time. $5. You can't beat that. That's a good deal. And $5 to look around, check out, find some stuff from your past, or, wheel and deal with the people. Because, I could tell you could definitely do that. These people are definitely, if they're in the business, it's going to be a harder sell, and they'll see if you're willing to pay the amount that they see is in demand, but you probably could work something with them. And everyone was just really, like I said, really friendly. So I have one funny story I'm going to share with you guys before I head out. So as I was leaving, there were two cops that were doing security. And this kind of reminded me of something I saw at Acon. And as I'm walking past them, one of the guys kind of does one of these. And, I didn't think anything of it, to be honest with you. I've seen this done at, not every Acon, but like probably the last couple of years when it was peak. There were certain areas of Acon where you weren't allowed to bring in food, from the outside or leave with certain stuff. But what I'm getting at is they would check your bags. So when I saw this cop go, see me about to walk out the door, and he just kind of did like this, I walked over to him and he stood up and I just handed him my bag. And then he opens the bag and he's like, nice. And then he looks up at me and I was like, wait a minute, are you supposed to be checking my bag? And he said, oh, I thought you were giving it to me. I told him, damn, man, you got me good. You got me good, because I was really like thinking to myself, oh, okay, he's got to check my bag. Yeah. I've been through this before. And so I just went over, handed you my bag. And we had a good laugh about that. And it just goes to show, like, every convention is done differently. And yeah, even I run into situations like that where I'll go in under the assumption of something and it's not anything like what I was expecting. Guys, that's about all I had for you today. I just wanted to take some moment, put some shine on Oklahoma's gaming frenzy. If this convention happens again next year around the same time, same bat channel, then I would definitely go. The only thing that would really stop me is if the weather's bad. As always, I appreciate you watching the video to the very end. Take care, and I'll see you next time.
Still, it seems to work quite nicely. Well enough to make the Triforce mine.
I almost did that.
You sure you want to go after Ganon?
Definitely! I'm tired of Ganon's evil attacks. If we can get both Triforces again, Ganon will be defeated forever.
Yeah, but Ganon's got a new trick up his sleeve. We still don't know what made that statue sink.